A bird nearly 100 meters long, drawn into the sand. A spider so vast you can only see the whole of it from the air. And a monkey with a coiled tail carved 2,000 years ago into one of the driest deserts on the planet. Here's the problem. The people who drew them could never see them whole. They had no aircraft, no balloons, not a single hill nearby tall enough to look down from. So why on earth would you draw something gigantic that you'll never be able to see? And here's what's even stranger. Because when scientists finally studied these lines seriously, the answer they kept finding didn't fit almost any of the famous theories. Stay with me. We're in southern Peru, on an arid plain northwest of the city of Nazca. The Nazca geoglyphs cover around 450 square kilometers. And this isn't just a handful of scattered drawings. There are roughly 300 figures, geometric shapes, animals, long unbroken straight lines, humans and plants. First, how they were made, because this alone is baffling. The Nazca lines were created by carefully removing the reddish-brown, iron oxide-coated pebbles from the desert floor to expose the lighter, sandier ground beneath. In other words, they painted nothing. They lifted away dark stones to reveal the pale earth. A drawing made by subtraction. And here's the incredible part. This simple process created a trench barely 10 to 15 centimeters deep, and that's how the enormous geoglyphs we see today were formed. 10 centimeters, a scratch in the ground, and it has survived 2,000 years. How? The desert itself, moisture from the morning fog hardened the clay beneath and shielded the lines from the wind, preventing erosion. In a region where it rains an average of 20 minutes a year, those conditions let them endure for centuries. A perfect canvas, almost as if the desert wanted to keep the message. But careful, here comes the twist. The fact that the lines are simple to trace doesn't explain what's truly strange. The scale. And above all, who made them? Because this wasn't some lone genius. The geoglyphs are so large that it seems clear they were built by organized groups of people, and that no single artist could have made them alone. It's believed to have been collective work, directed by a few, and the process itself may have served to strengthen the bonds of the community. An entire society, generation after generation, scratching at the desert. The question is no longer how. It's why they went to all that trouble. And here the real mystery begins, because for centuries no one even suspected these figures existed. The network of geoglyphs was unknown until the 1930s, when commercial pilots flying over the area saw the enormous drawings for the first time, revealing their true scale and importance. Think about that for a second. They lay there in plain sight for nearly 2,000 years, and humans didn't recognize them until we learned to fly. That only deepened the riddle. If they can only be seen from the sky, who were they drawn for? The first great answer came by accident, and it's beautiful. When Dr. Paul Kosuk, a history professor, watched the sun set exactly along a narrow line in the Nazca Desert on December 21, 1941, the day of the solstice, he concluded that the Nazca Plain was the largest astronomy book in the world. A calendar written on the ground. The idea was irresistible, and it had a legendary champion. Maria Rigor, a German archaeologist and mathematician, devoted much of her research to the region and measured and mapped most of the Nazca lines with meticulous precision. They called her the Lady of the Lines. Rigor found lines converging on the summer solstice and developed the theory that the lines formed a vast celestial calendar. She spent 4 decades out there, alone, measuring. She came to believe that the great drawing of a giant monkey represented the constellation we now call the Big Dipper. Lovely, isn't it? An ancient people reading the sky and the earth. The problem is that the more experts looked, the less it added up. And this is the part almost no one tells you. The hard criticism came, and the argument was devastating. An alignment between a star in the sky and a mark on the ground is statistically meaningless, because Nazca's clear night sky reveals countless stars. With hundreds of lines pointing in every direction, by sheer probability, some will match something up there. It proves nothing, and the scholars' verdict was cold. They ultimately concluded the lines were not primarily astronomical, even though the work of Rigor and Kosok had drawn academic attention to this great treasure. So the largest calendar in the world, probably wasn't a calendar at all. And if it wasn't that, then what was it? Here things get uncomfortable because a far more famous and far more outlandish explanation appeared. In 1968, a writer named Erich von Däniken published a book that became huge. Without a doubt, the most infamous theory about the origin of the Nazca lines was the one he proposed in his 1968 book, Chariots of the Gods, claiming Nazca had been a landing site for an extraterrestrial spacecraft, landing strips for alien ships. The idea spread like wildfire, and let's be absolutely clear, there is not a single shred of evidence for this. It's pure speculation. In fact, Maria Reicher herself was one of its fiercest opponents. Reicher was a firm critic of von Däniken's theory and worked to dismantle it, stressing the connection between the geoglyph designs and other elements of Nazca culture, such as their pottery. The Nazca themselves drew those same animals on their vessels. No visitor from space was needed. The answer lay within their own culture. But then, if it wasn't aliens and it wasn't a calendar, modern science had to look for something else. And what it found has to do with something far more desperate than the stars. Water. Remember the figure. In Nazca, it almost never rains. And in a desert like that, water isn't a resource. It's life or death. Enter the archaeologist Johann Reinhard. Today, the most widely accepted theory, originally proposed by Reinhard, is that the lines are tied to ritual practices connected with water. In a desert, water is precious and essential for crops, and his idea turns everything before it on its head. Watch this. Reinhard wrote that most of the lines most likely pointed at nothing on the geographic or celestial horizon, but instead led to places where rituals were performed to obtain water and the fertility of the crops. See it? The lines weren't meant to be looked at, they were meant to be walked. A colleague of his confirmed it with fieldwork. Anthony Aveni states that his findings clearly showed the straight lines and trapezoids are related to water, but not for finding water, rather used in connection with rituals. And suddenly the animals make sense. Animal symbolism is common throughout the Andes. Spiders are thought to be a sign of rain, hummingbirds are associated with fertility, and monkeys appear in the Amazon, a region rich in water. The drawings weren't art for the sky. They were prayers, pleas etched into the ground, walked by whole processions, begging the gods for the one thing that desert refused to give. And all those lines seem to point toward a single heart. New research suggests the Nazca geoglyphs were used along a pilgrimage route toward the ancient temple complex of Cahuachi, a ceremonial center of the Nazca culture. So what were the Nazca lines? The honest answer is that we still don't know for certain. Many modern researchers have speculated about their meaning, but they still don't know, and they may never know why they exist. But the strongest lead doesn't point to the sky, nor to outer space. It points to the ground and to thirst. Because the culture that created these works vanished centuries ago, leaving little record beyond the lines and a few artifacts. The truth behind them has been almost impossible to pin down. And there's the chill, an entire people kneeling on the sand, lifting stones one by one for generations, drawing birds and spiders and monkeys the size of stadiums. Not for us to see, not even for themselves to see, but for something above to see. And in that rainless desert, it perhaps never answered.